Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are taking our very first look at the new Tier 3, which I know I don't normally do this for Tier 3s, but this one is an exception. Tier 3 British Battleship from the Halloween event for getting 5 stars on the Transylvania event, the Bellerophon, whichever way you want to call it. I think it's Bellerophon, but we'll go with that. Anyway, this is a very unique ship for battleships at Tier 3, in that it is basically the British Arkansas. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, this is the Arkansas. Why is the Arkansas so deadly? Well, because the Arkansas gets to use all of its equipment, and it gets to use artillery plotting room. Well, Spartan, only the Americans get artillery plotting room. You can't tell me that Bellerophon is out here with an artillery plotting room. Well, that's where you'd be wrong, Sunshine. Let's take a look at our loadout here. We are running Aiming Systems Mod 1. Okay? Keep that in mind. Steering Gears Mod 2. Target Acquisition Mod. And Artillery Plotting Room Mod 2, which gives a 11% main battery dispersion buff. So, this thing gets a total buff to the dispersion of your ship of a 18% from just the equipment. Just the equipment gives you an 18% buff to the dispersion. Alright? On top of that, because you can run all the equipment, you get to run the Steering Gears mod. Now, before we get into the rest, let's look at our commander. We are using Azure Lane Nelson. Now, you could use either Cunningham or you could use Madden. Given the fact that you already get decent buffs to your dispersion just from the equipment, I would recommend Madden, personally, if you don't have Azure Lane Nelson. But Azure Lane Nelson is who we are running. We have Azure Lane Scharnhorst and Paolo de Revel as our commander inspirations. We are running Flammable Cannoneer, Gyrating Drill Bits. I am not running Big 7 because I don't want 80-second turret traverse, okay? So we're losing a little bit of AP shell damage here, but not that much, because this also buffs the AP shell damage. Okay, plus it helps your turrets traverse a little bit faster. It does reduce your maximum speed on your battleship, but at these low tiers, it's not that noticeable. Plus, this thing is still plenty fast enough at these low tiers with gyrating drill bits on. Marksmanship and a master mechanic giving us the extra 2 heals, meaning we get 5 heals. Yeah. Pretty nasty. Okay? Fight Fire with Fire perk is what we are also running, because I don't really know that these are anything special. I don't use them ever. So I use Fight Fire with Fire. So if we get set on fire 3 times while we have the damage con going, we're going to be okay. It'll put it out. Alright, so let's get into the actual stats of the ship so we can see whether or not this thing is as broken as it appears to be. And, yeah, so 28.4 second reload time on 305mm guns, which is roughly the same as the Arkansas. Most of the Tech Tree ships are 30+ seconds, okay, for 305s. Maximum HE shell damage is 5,200. Why am I doing this here? Hold that thought. 5 heals, obviously. We get 3 secondary boosters, even though the secondaries on this thing are a little meh. We're not running any boosters whatsoever. We do have the community contributor flag and the camo that comes on the ship. Stats. 38,100 hit points with a 13% torpedo damage reduction. Pretty nice. Artillery. You have 10 305mm Mark X 45 caliber guns. They reach out to 14.7 kilometers. The reload is 28.4 seconds, and the 180-degree turn time 40 seconds. So, 180-degree turn time on these turrets, not amazing, even without the Nelson, or without the crap. What is that perk? Big 7 perk. Okay, so when you put the Big 7 on, this thing's going to be over 50 seconds, and that's awful. Okay, HE shell maximum damage 5200 with a 32% chance of set fires. I haven't really tested the AP or the HE in this ship, mainly because at these low tiers, AP just absolutely wrecks everything. So AP shells, maximum damage of 8910. Secondary, which is a little on the low side, I should add. Secondaries, 102mm 50 caliber Mark 7s. You have 14 of those reaching out to 4.7 kilometers, reloading in 7.5 seconds, and they have HE firing out to, or firing with a 6% chance of setting fires and 1500 maximum damage. AA defense. It's a tier 3, so basically non-existent. You got a couple dudes on the deck with some rifles shooting up at it. 40mm 39 caliber QF Mark IIs. You have 4 of those doing 23 damage per second, reaching out to only 2.5 kilometers. And the 76.2mm 45 caliber HA Mark IVs. You have 3 of the, three of those. You have 2 of those reaching out to reaching out to 3 kilometers and doing 4 damage per second. So yeah, not good. Maneuverability though is where this thing kind of shines. 21.6 knot top speed, and that's with gyrating drill bits. You take gyrating drill bits off, this thing's probably like 23 or something like that. So keep that in mind. It's got very good speed for the era, and also has a amazing turning circle. And with the steering gears mod on, we're down to an 8.6 second rudder shift on a battleship. Yeah, that's ridiculous in every good way possible for battleship drivers. All right. Concealment, 11.9 kilometers by sea, 10 kilometers by air, 2 guaranteed, and the 9.5 kilometer smoke firing penalty. Armor, that's where this ship kind of suffers. It's got a very good belt all the way through. It's an icebreaker all the way to the back. I like the belt armor. That being said, there ain't much armor everywhere else, so you get shredded by HE if, and even cruiser HE, but for that matter. So let's take a look at it. So we've got 152 millimeters at the front, and it's all the way to the front. So if anybody shoots the belt of this thing, they're not going through, period. Unless you're broadside, you are not getting smashed at the belt, at the waterline. Okay? Other than that, you have 19 millimeters of plating. So, like I said, pretty much everything goes through it. Armor piercing shreds it at a decent angle, and pretty much any HE whatsoever is going to really, really hurt. Alright, let's take and get rid of all of that. And look at our actual Citadel. Now, the Citadel on this thing is submerged. It's below the waterline for the most part. There's a small amount of it, I guess it's a pretty good amount of it, that is at the waterline. Notice that it slopes at the front, so if you do manage to get some plunging fire through the bow, you might actually Citadel this thing, because it's kind of like a turtleback effect, because it's slope, you should penetrate that if you get a plunging fire shot just in front of the turret. But other than that, like I said, it's mostly at or below the waterline, so you're not likely to take a lot of Citadels in this thing. Up close. At distance, probably. But up close, you should be pretty fine. Plus, like I said, you've got that amazing belt all the way down the ship that should keep you healthy as long as you don't go completely goof. Now, with that being said, this thing does get torn up pretty well by just random, everyday fire. Like, it doesn't seem like everybody shoots at the belt, so you got to try to make people shoot the belt. Agile, above average ability to change direction, we already talked about. Secondary reach, above average secondary battery range. Didn't really talk about that. But, yeah, I guess the secondaries reach a little further. But still, there isn't that many of them, so it's kind of meh. The Bellerophon. The Bellerophon class battleships were developed from the renowned Dreadnought class. The ship inherited turbine propulsion and a main battery consisting of 10 305mm guns from her predecessor. But, unlike the prototype, she had armored torpedo protection. She entered service in 1909, and there were 3 of them in the series. So, let's take a look at it. I mean, it looks pretty good. I like the tripod masts. It's a good looking ship for its time. A little bit flat in places, but overall, I don't hate it. And those wing turrets actually fit pretty well on the ship without screwing up too much. I don't hate the wing turrets at all. Notice the extra plate that protects the wing turrets a little bit. Protecting that, what do you call it? The, oh god. What is that called? The barbette of the turret. The barbette is the little tube that goes down inside the ship that houses the components and stuff of the actual turret. So, if you didn't know that, now you do. But, yeah. So, other than that, I mean, it's a good-looking ship. And, let's take it into battle. So, with that, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be on Ring. And we're in the Bellerophon. So, here's the thing. I didn't have any idea what to expect when I went into this fight. And so I just went into it the way I always do, which is to put the ship through its paces, to test a little bit of everything. And so that's what we're going to do in this. Now, obviously, we're on Ring. Or, yeah, I think it's Ring. Right? But I'm looking at the map, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what I should do at the beginning of this. Should I push to the left? Should I push to the right? Should I go through mid? What should I do? And the answer, for me, at least, gets answered for me. I was going to push to the right and help that side out, because there's one battleship over there, no destroyer, and our destroyer that spawned mid with me looks to be going to the left to help those three ships. So I figure, alright, my cruiser is also going over there, so between all of those guys, they should be able to handle that side. I'm going to go over and help the right side. So I'm going to push over this direction initially, and then the answer is going to get, or the question's going to get answered for me of what I should do in this, because the enemy makes some very questionable plays. Now you can see here I'm trying to line up some shots, and I don't really have a shot over the island showcase, and we don't really have good shell arc, which is actually a good thing. For battleships, just because it means more often than not you're going to be going through the side plating rather than up through the deck. Now notice I completely forgot this is the first time I've played the ship, so had HE loaded in the first salvo. But we get a decent hit on that Phoenix. If we had AP loaded, I imagine that Phoenix is back at port right now, but unfortunately we didn't because we screwed up. But yeah, we're going to showcase the AP in this one pretty well, and honestly, I'm actually slightly unimpressed by the AP on this thing, but that's not to be, you know, it's not necessarily bad AP, it's just I thought it would do better. Now, right there, we get one hit out of that full salvo. The Katovsky, right at the last second, decides to turn out, saving his life, probably. You know, British armor piercing versus cruisers just does not work out for the cruiser. Unless, of course, it's me firing it, in which case every cruiser in the world will just take the shield. I don't know why. But, we lose our Kirov to the destroyer's torpedoes.
Torpedoes to port.
The destroyer lost a good chunk of his health, but is now pushing into the side of our base with another cruiser right next to him. And you can see this Kirov is just absolutely begging for it. He's making what he's doing obvious. We're going to take that shot just as he comes around the island, and that should be death. But because it's me, no. We're not allowed to Citadel the Kirov as he comes around the corner. That would just be rude. So, yeah, he's going to get away for the moment, because in true Spartan fashion, we have to leave everybody with just enough to get away. But, we lose our Benson. The Omaha manages to torp the Kirov. We've got a shot at the Orion, and this is where I'm going to showcase we shouldn't be shooting at the Bell. We know this. But I wanted to see what this thing was capable of, and this is what I do. So we get 3 penetrations, which really only ended up as like 1 penetration, and a bunch of shatters. The Orion is very tanky. It's the other British battleship, if you didn't know. The Orion is very tanky and has very large guns. And it doesn't even have that long of a reload. So you gotta be careful. Now here I am trying to test whether or not I can get both wing turrets and the front turret to fire at the same time. There is a brief moment where you probably can, but I keep overshooting it one way or the other. And you can see it just not working out for me. It is such a small area. And my secondaries start firing off because we got a destroyer pushing up on us. Now this destroyer is going to test out the secondaries for us. We've got the secondary booster running. Obviously, can't go full broadside because there's a island to my right, and I'm going to use this island to make sure that I stay safe from his torpedoes. He can't torp ahead of me because of the island. So he's going to try to torp me. I'm turning in. He's going to completely fail. We're going to use the rear turrets to shoot at this guy. We get one shot, or one shot away. We get two hits with the rear turret. You can see I am swinging a little bit, trying to get that aiming off for him. We already dodged one set of torpedoes. We're turning all the way back to the right to try to dodge some more, and you can see we are putting shells through them. Now this would be a good opportunity to go to HE, but at the same time, I'm firing my guns ripple fire, so it's actually just better to stick with the AP. That way I've constantly got some sort of guns going. I say as I don't have a gun at the moment that can shoot him. But that was the goal, anyway, was to keep turning my ship a little bit, firing each gun separately so that I constantly have a gun firing to finish this guy off. And, yeah, we do manage to take him down. Not that big a deal. Dodged all of his torps, no problem. The maneuverability on this thing is fantastic. And now we get to test out the durability of this thing. We're going to be going up against the New York, a fantastic American dreadnought, and he's going to punch us pretty good here. Gets a very nice couple of penetrations, couple overpins, couple, or at least one full penetration, and no Citadel, obviously, but you can see he is chunking us really, really well. And that goes down to, once again, he is able to get those shells through that thinner armor up that's above the belt. The belt on this thing is a decent size, but apparently the thin enough armor on the sides just allows everybody's dispersion to help them annihilate us. And then when you see us fire the armor piercing back at him, you can see I'm actually holding my fire here because I don't want him to be catching me in my turns, okay? The whole point of the dreadnought shuffle is to outturn your enemy. Let your enemy make the mistake of turning to you, firing its guns full broadside, allowing you to get a much better penetration. And then after he's done shooting, that's when you swing out and give your broadside. That way you can get back to being battle tanking before he gets in. Now notice we are taking HE from a cruiser to our left, and they actually chunk us pretty good. But versus this American dreadnought, we are kind of struggling a little bit to get any sort of penetration, which is not to be, it's not unexpected because this is a New York, and New Yorks are really tanky, especially at the belt, which I know. I'm underestimating kind of how fast these shells are going. Again, first match in this ship, so keep that in mind. My aiming is a little bit off due to the fact that I don't know what it's capable of. So trying to get the shells to land exactly where I want them is a little bit on the hard side at the moment, but he's going to turn the other direction. We've got shots coming in. Again, we're trying to hit towards the rear of the ship and get those shots not into the belt armor, but into that rear stern plating, the stern side plating. He's about to go behind an island. We're not going to have a gun, and the cruiser is about to come out from behind the island to my left. So rather than continue trying to shoot this guy, and instead of changing my guns to the other side of the ship, we're going to turn the ship all the way around. Now, obviously, we do have some guns heading in the direction to get some shots on this Kotovsky. First shot's not going to be great, and I think the second shot is going to be solid, but actually missed due to the fact that he's sailing away slightly. So that shot's dispersion was awful. And you can see as I'm turning back around, we're going to be able to get these guns on target. We do have 2 guns available. We take the shot, and like I said, these are fantastic, but end up landing short because he is sailing away from us a little bit. I should have aimed a little further out, but I didn't. But that being said, we're going to make up for it on the next shot because I do eventually get these things dialed in, and we get the Citadel right there, showcasing what we do expect out of British armor piercing on cruisers, is when you do get these shots, it capitalizes. Now, obviously, he turns in a little bit, presents a little more of a flat broadside for us, but It doesn't matter, Sunshine. It's British armor piercing. You're going down.
Enemy cruiser sunk.
The friendlies managed to get rid of the New York, and that leaves just a carrier left, which I believe is the enemy Hosho. I think is a Hosho, the Japanese carrier. But we're going to push over towards the base. We've got 72,000 damage. It's not a bad game at all. And if we can manage to find the carrier, which, remember, now are spotted at a much further range, so we should be able to find the carrier, rather than him being able to just hide at the edge of the map the entire game. So we turn our attentions towards the carrier, and we get to showcase some of the AA on this ship, which is just like every other Tier 3, basically non-existent. I think we do shoot down a plane or two in this match, but the maneuverability allows us to only take a single torpedo. We don't take a flood. We do get a plane shot down, so we like that. But at the same time, there's a second plane. So the AA is not bad, but it is a Tier 3. It is basically useless against anybody that actually wants to hurt you in a carrier. So keep that in mind. Hosho does get spotted here, which we expected. He's a little further to the right than I expected, but we're going to aim a good shot here. We know that the Hosho Citadel is towards the back, and look at that dispersion, man. I was expecting Depth Strike, and we get 2 Citadels, but not a Depth Strike, unfortunately. And that gives us our High Caliber and our Confederate, and we don't manage the Citadel on the second shot. You gotta love that. But it's okay, because I didn't realize it at the time, but our friendly Omaha gets a Kraken unleashed. And a Confederate high caliber. There was a couple of people in this team that actually carried pretty hard. But 93,000 damage, Confederate high cal. Second on the team, only to the Omaha, who got a Kraken unleashed with a Confederate high cal, a Kraken. Not too shabby. So if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.